The Papworth Time Travel Club. It was a stormy night, and Katie was pacing the floor of the warehouse, waiting for the other members of the Papworth Time Travel Club to arrive. She pricked up her ears as she heard a secret coded knock at the door. They were here. With a big grin on her face, Katie opened the door. Standing in front of her were the people she had spent the last few months with planning the time travel club online. First, there was Emma, a pop star from New York, whose money had paid for the big warehouse and all the special equipment inside. "I'm so excited to be here," Emma cried, jumping up and down and clapping her hands excitedly. Then there was a tall, serious-looking man who had arrived on a huge robotic camel. This could only be Dr. Edge, an expert scientist who had big plans. Katie then looked down. She was expecting another two humans, but instead there was a dog and a tiger. The dog chuckled. "I bet you weren't expecting a dog," he said. Katie saw the collar around his neck, which flashed as he spoke. It was translating his growls and woofs into speech. Then the tiger spoke. "Oh, a tiger!" The tiger had one of the collars too. "I am Skylar," said the dog, "and Pacino the tiger and I are looking forward to being the chief mechanical engineers on this exciting adventure." They all went in and explored the warehouse, which was mostly a big space with lots of crates containing scientific equipment. At the back of the warehouse was a kitchen and some comfortable sofas to relax on when the crew weren't working on the time machine. There was also a bedroom for each of them, but Skylar said he would enjoy sleeping in front of the fire. For the next few weeks, they worked every waking hour on their time machine. Katie was the time travel brain, and Dr. Edge advised them on all the do's and don'ts of time travel. Skylar was usually to be found with his head inside a piece of equipment, instructing Emma to insert lots of little coloured wires into the correct places. Pacino was surprisingly good at soldering with his big white paws. They chose a simple frame to build their time machine inside. It was a greenhouse, built with a titanium frame and super strength glass. "We can see time fly past us through the windows," cried Dr. Edge, rubbing his hands together with glee. After weeks of hard work, they all stood back and looked at their time machine. It was ready. They ordered pizza and discussed what they would do with their time machine. "Let's go millions of years into the past," cried Dr. Edge. "No," said Skylar. "We should test it on a safe journey. Let's just go a few years forward. But we should all have a good night's sleep first, just so we've got our wits about us." The next morning, they were all ready. They got into the time machine. Katie flicked some switches until the screen read 112 years into the future. Then they all strapped themselves in to their seats. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They counted down, and Emma pressed the big red button. There were flashing lights and little explosions of lights as the time machine made the most unusual noise. And eventually it juddered to a halt. The crew undid their seatbelts and opened the door. Well, the warehouse wasn't there anymore, but they did recognise some of the buildings of Basildon. There were a lot of changes though. New buildings had gone up, there were odd-looking cars, lots of people in futuristic clothes. "Let's get some food," said Puccino. "I can't wait to see what they eat in the future." As they ate their futuristic food, they noticed that people were walking past and staring at Skylar and Puccino. At first they thought it was because they were talking like humans, but then they heard a man mutter, "Extinct." "Wait, stop!" Katie shouted. "What do you mean, extinct?" Then the man explained how so many animals had gone extinct in the last 100 years because of the way that humans had treated their planets. Dogs, tigers, meerkats, penguins, hippos, all extinct. Now the planet's air and water was clean, but it was too late for these extinct animals. "I know what we must do," said Emma. "We must travel back in time to bring these species into the future and save them from execution. Flippin' heck, not execution." "I know what we must do," said Emma. "We must travel back in time to bring these species into the future and save them from extinction." So, our heroes raced back to the time machine and they put on their seatbelts as Dr. Edge entered the date. "Take us back to our own time, Dr. Edge," said Skylar. But they didn't notice as Dr. Edge rubbed his hands together evilly, muttering, "No, not to our own time. How about a few million years? I've always wanted a dinosaur." He pressed the red button and immediately the time machine went back in time. So, when they all came out of the time machine, it wasn't the familiar sight of Basildon. No, they were surrounded by ancient trees and boggy ground, and right in front of them was a huge egg. "Where are we?" said Skylar. "Where did you take us to, Dr. Edge?" asked Emma. "To fame and power," cried Dr. Edge, cackling evilly as he grabbed the egg and started to roll it into the time machine. We don't know what kind of egg that is, Dr. Edge," said Puccino. Yes, we do," pointed Katie at the huge dinosaur smashing through the trees towards him. "I bet that's the egg's mummy. Mummy T-Rex."
It's Mummy's
T-Rex.
As fast as they could, they got back into the time machine and Dr. Edge flipped from switches and pressed the red button. They arrived with a shuddering halt, but they were in a dark room. "This doesn't look like the warehouse," said Emma suspiciously. They slowly walked out of the time machine and through a door towards a light. "That's because it's not!" cried Dr. Edge, slamming a big wooden door shut behind them and locking it. "You fools! You are now prisoners in my secret bunker, and you are helpless to stop me from my ultimate goal. I will become king! So, our heroes were trapped and could only watch as Dr. Edge tinkered with the time machine. There were some flashes of blue and green light, and Dr. Edge stepped back, laughing triumphantly, as the egg hatched and the T-Rex grew in the time machine, from a baby to a full-grown T-Rex. Now I will set it loose on London, and my beloved dinosaur will smash up the city. A huge metal door opened, and Dr. Edge rode out of the bunker upon the T-Rex's back. In their prison were some beds and a television. They switched on the news and watched in horror as Dr. Edge and his dinosaur smashed up London. Next, the evil Dr. Edge spoke to the camera. Now I make my demands. Make me king, or I will smash up Buckingham Palace. Oh, we have to do something, sobbed Emma. Wait, let me see what I have that could help us, said Katie, emptying her pockets. Here, look, a laser. We can use it to cut the door down. But when she switched it on, she found it was just a laser pen. But Puccino, the tiger, followed his instinct. He chased the laser light everywhere, just like a cat, and he hurled himself at the wall to pounce on the light. Suddenly, there was a great rumble, and the prison cell collapsed around them. They were free. Come on, said Schuyler. I have an idea. They moved the time machine to the gates of Buckingham Palace and used the laser pen to attract the T-Rex's attention. Just like Puccino had done, the T-Rex started to chase the little red light, and he followed it straight into the greenhouse with Dr. Edge on his back. They slammed the doors shut and used the time travel app on Schuyler's phone to send the T-Rex and Dr. Edge all the way back in time, where Mummy T-Rex was waiting. Dr. Edge had some serious explaining to do. When they thought it was safe, they brought the time machine back and used it to carry out their original plan. The 4 remaining members of the Papworth Time Travel Club rounded up lots of the animals which would become extinct in the future, and they took them forward in time, where the world was delighted to have their beautiful species back once again. 3 cheers for our brave time travellers!
Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip!